Welcome to another episode of Sanford Says. This is Lisa Holder, Communications Officer for the City of Sanford, and I have with me today a wonderful, very special guest, Christina Hollerbach-Simmons. Welcome, Christina.
Hello. How are you doing today, Lisa?
I'm doing great. Thanks for asking. So Christina Hollerbach-Simmons is affiliated, of course, with Hollerbach's Willow Tree, the Magnolia Square Market, Hollerbach's Outfitters, and several other organizations in Sanford, such as the Women's Club, the Wayne Dench Performing Arts Center, the Love Your Shorts Film Festival, Film Sanford, and I could go on and on. Christina, she's just a wonderful community leader in Sanford. And Christina's on the show today just to share some information about what's going on actually in the film industry, in Sanford filming, and some other things in regards to the cinema and movies that we have in our city, and some other plans and maybe some call to actions for the community. Welcome, Christina.
Hello. So I'm so excited. I mean, obviously I love Sanford. With my 3 businesses here, it's I have roots here. I'm not going anywhere. And part of what my goal as an individual is to make Sanford a destination. So that not only means my own businesses, but all of Sanford. If we make Sanford a destination for arts and entertainment, then everybody benefits. And it also benefits me selfishly because then I get to enjoy all of those wonderful things. So I have a big passion for film. And I've been with the Love Your Shorts Film Festival for, I think, 4 or 5 years now, but always a sponsor since its inception 9 years ago. And that festival is always held in February. We just finished it, and we get submissions from all over the world, and usually over 300 or so. And we pick about 70 to 80 films each year to screen and give out awards. And it's a really great feeling. And through that, because I'm so busy with the restaurant that I never really got to go into the film industry as some of my aspirations may have been. So I get to live through that and still support that industry. And it's kind of expanded since then. And there's a lot of merchant leaders that really talked about, like, hey, why don't we see more filming in Sanford? Why is that? And so we started investigating further, and it brought me to, like, what is a film commission? And, like, I'd heard it said a lot, but, like, I really honestly didn't know what they did. I knew what a film was, and I knew what a commission was, but I didn't know what a film commission was. Right. So through our research, we discovered that Sanford is technically covered by the Orlando Film Commission, which is done with the Orlando Economic Partnership. Yes. So, like, they over there, too, are very busy. They've got maybe, 2 people in that department with 1 leader who wears lots of different hats, too. So they do their best to cover a huge area. I think it's 4 counties that they cover. And so we decided, I don't want to reinvent the wheel. I don't want to make another commission. They're doing a great job. They have all the right connections. They just need help, So we wanted to create a committee here in Sanford that supports the endeavors of Orlando Film Commission by being a welcome wagon, a location scout, crew rosters, and really get people to recognize all the things that Sanford has to offer when it comes to film. So we've been meeting almost 7 months. Right. time flies. Sure. And so our goals are slowly getting accomplished, and right now we're taking photos of current locations that are suggested for filming and updating the Orlando film site, or filmorlando.com. Mm-hmm. And trying to get people who want to be listed on that crew list to submit information to us, and creating a welcome wagon so when people do come to town that they know that they have local support. Besides the actual beauty of our town that can be translated to lots of different film sites, it's also really important when they scout a location to figure out, are they welcome here? It's like, hey, this looks really great, but if it's going to be a pain in the butt to be here or to have any infrastructure or public restrooms or parking, then even though the spot looks great, we're not going to use it because it's really difficult to film here. So we wanted to make sure that they knew that we wanted them and that we have a supportive community that works with them. I mean, even we recently just shot a commercial where they had scouted it during a time when we didn't have certain things up, and then they were up when they came for filming, and we would still work together as a community to help them and make that look the way they needed it to for their shoot. So right. I think there's a lot to be said about feeling welcome and wanting to be included.
And so who is representative on your Film Sanford committee? Do you have folks from the community
Sure.
that are part of it, and that you have photographers that are local, that are know the community, know what they want to share?
definitely. And that's how, like, I joke about it, but that's how everything in Sanford happens, is we're all just hanging out, drinking at a bar, and we go, hey, do you think we should do this thing? Yeah, we should totally do this thing.
And that's how it happens.
And that's how we get stuff done. But Dan St. Pierre from Tuffy's Bottle Shop here, he's a graduate from... what's this school?
Full Sail.
And he always has an interest in film, so he was very supportive of the idea. And then Daniel Morris from Park Ave Photography, who's been assisting us with the photos. And then Will Haneo with the historic downtown Sanford. So we get a little bit mix of people from the industry, people who know how to market that are invested in Sanford, and people who know how to take great photos and know what kind of properties are available for us to shoot. And then myself, who just likes things and likes connecting people and getting stuff done. So I think it works out really well. And of course, Lisa Holder has been a big partner, because she was the initial one that has been communicating with Orlando Film. So whenever they send down a permit, Lisa has the hard work. All of our stuff is fun. She actually has to get all the different departments to sign off on permits, sometimes very last minute, because it sounds like something so easy, but it's not. Is Parks and Rec ready? Do they need police? Is a street being closed? Do they have permission to be here? There's a lot of behind the scenes things that need to happen, usually very quickly, to make film productions work.
Yeah, exactly. And myself being on the committee, it helps to close that communications gap with it, and so it's been very, very helpful to be part of that. So you were mentioning earlier about Love Your Short. So it is held at the Wayne Dench Performing Arts Center, correct? Mm-hmm. And that we also have at the Wayne Dench a lot of cinema opportunities going on that folks may not necessarily know about, or maybe they do. And even this evening, which is we're recording this on March 7th, there's some
Dial M for Murder
Hitchcock movies. Yeah.
So we have a classics movie committee through Wayne Dench Performing Arts Center, and we show usually about 9 films a season. And we have very specific criteria, but we are working on expanding that, because now we've almost fulfilled all of the movies that fit that criteria. But we like to show things
what were the criteria?
1968 and lower, on a specific list of America's most
top 100
movies of all time. And they couldn't be rated R because we're sponsored by the city of Sanford, and we wanted to make it something available to everyone. So that really narrows down those choices. So as you can tell, we are starting to run low on them. But I think it's really fun, and not just the idea of classic movies, but with streaming services nowadays, like, you have a lot of things at your fingertips. So presenting things that may be harder to get to, that aren't showing up on your Netflix most trending, is kind of unique in itself. But also the venue. I love the Wayne Dench Performing Arts Center. It's a historic theater from 1923. It's gone through a lot of different versions, but it was historically a movie theater as well as a playhouse. So it's nice that we still represent both of those kinds of performing arts there. But it's very, I don't like to use the word old school, but it's old school. We're cash only. You come in, it's $5 to watch a film, and we have concession stand with really heavy pours and a really good price point, so you can have a really affordable night out sitting in a beautiful historic theater and watching a classic movie. And it's kind of a very different tactile, romantic experience compared to a regular old movie theater. So I really enjoy it.
So, and if you like Alfred Hitchcock, Dial M for Murder is tonight, and there's some other films. You can find the information on the WTDPAC.com website. Mm-hmm. And what's the address of the theater, so people know?
I believe it's 201
South Magnolia.
South Magnolia.
Right down. Right
Magnolia and Second, right? If you know where Magnolia Square is with our beautiful fountain, it'll be adjacent to that.
Yes, and you can't miss it. So we encourage everybody to come out and also just take a look at what they've got to offer at the theater, the Performing Arts Center in general. So, Christina, let's talk more about movies and movies that were filmed in the city of Sanford.
Sure.
One in particular?
Yeah. So, you can always go to our Sanford Museum and talk to our lovely ladies down there, because they have a giant list of all the things that have ever been filmed here. They try and keep good track of that. But I think our most famous to date is My Girl, which was filmed in 1991. And it's very predominant. It's not like, hey, they filmed one scene here. There's a whole scene where they, come down to a downtown on bicycles, and they're riding around, and they sit at a clock tower, the same clock tower that that's in Magnolia Square now. And they also, I think Dan Aykroyd has a pretty long scene that's in a restaurant, and that's where the Breezeway is currently located. So there's some really cool, like, old Florida scenes there. And so it was made in 91, so that means their 30th anniversary for that movie is coming up in a few years. So we are making maneuvers and putting feelers out there of trying to host a My Girl reunion party here in Sanford with Dan Aykroyd and Macaulay Culkin, and I think Jamie Lee Curtis was even in that movie. There's quite a lot of fun people. So I think between screening it at the historic Wayne Dutch Performing Arts Center, or maybe even doing a live screening outside and photos at the clock tower, we could have a lot of fun for that event, probably raise money for one of our many nonprofit organizations here, and just make it a really fun thing for our citizens and for our guests. So it's in the works slowly but surely. If you've got any connections, Macaulay Culkin, you let me know. If we already have a joke running, if he will only come if his weird band gets to play. We'll put what is it, pizza?
Did he have a commercial or something that he did recently?
Yeah, he did. I think with Amazon Alexa,
something
maybe?
like that. Yeah. So he's back in the
limelight.
Limelight now, yeah, so to speak. Yeah. Well, that's awesome. That's really good. And these are some wonderful opportunities for our visitors or residents to come and be part of also. So that's pretty awesome. And so, in relation to film and the state of Florida and things like that, and tourist development taxes, can you talk about some kind of support for advocacy and supporting these incentives, film incentives, and with the industry coming up?
I think it's important for people to understand kind of the hierarchy too. So we're Film Sanford. We are just a committee that's working with Orlando Film. But then Orlando Film is also a partner of Film Florida. So Film Florida on a larger statewide scale is really focused on legislation. Currently, we don't have a lot of film production here in Florida because we don't offer any tax incentives, and I understand that incentives is a negative word, but I don't know how else to say it. And right now, Georgia, North Carolina are really big in the film industry because they're offering a lot of good deals. But we also have a lot more pros in some of those areas because of our weather. They were just filming something in Georgia, and it's actually based in Florida is the whole point of this TV series. But they're filming in Georgia because they had the tax incentives, but then it started to turn and winter came and they realized they can't even film in these areas, so they did some shots here in Florida and Sanford, and I wish we could have got more of them, but because of those incentives, it's really a drawback for a lot of those areas. So there's a couple legislation that's been introduced this year, I think one in January and one in February, Senate Bill 726, which is in regards to the tourism development tax, and Senate Bill 526, which is grant program. So they're getting word of that scary incentives word, and it's instead of first come, first serve basis of allotment of taxes, it's a grant program based on merit, juried by the commission. So there's two different bills, and honestly, both of them would be great for me because I think it's so hard in this world where there's so many different things that are wrong or hot topics or whatever. So when you say, hey, I'm really excited about a Senate bill that encourages tax incentives, people are like, yeah, get out of here. Who cares about film? Who cares about tax incentives? But I don't think people realize how much it can affect a local town's economy. Even like My Girl, something silly as that, a movie from 30 years ago, an event like that could generate, tourism dollars for our community. It could fill restaurants that night. It could, give attention to a historic theater. It's like there's so many long-term tourism benefits to film, and also during production benefits. When a production comes somewhere, they have to stay somewhere. They have to run equipment. They have to hire staff. They have to eat. They have to do all of these things. So when you get a film, you not only create money and revenue during that production, it has the possible to generate future income through tourism. So it's a very powerful thing. Like, entertainment industry will always exist, so why not use it to help do all these things? Yeah. So if you're interested in following any of those bills, they're pretty easy, especially like with Facebook's Town Hall Center or govtrack.com or .org, I think. You can follow these bills, see where they're at. Always talk to your senators, talk to your House of Representatives, tell them it's something you're interested in. People, public officials are there for their constituents. So if you tell them, hey, I'm interested in this and I would like to see this pass, then that's what they're going to try and do. You just have to tell them that you're interested in it.
Yeah, and this is good for Sanford.
Definitely.
Ultimately. So that's very helpful information, Christina. Thank you. And so what can our neighbors do when productions are in town as well, when we have crews here, film crews filming? What do you recommend?
Sure. So, we understand that sometimes film productions can be a hindrance. Like what you see on camera is just two people having a conversation with each other in a living room. But for a house, that could mean upwards of 20 crew members, 3 trucks full of, gear, and a trailer for the host. So just what you see behind the scenes is a lot more involved than what you see on camera. So when you are in a residential area or even a business, it can be somewhat of a hindrance. But I think that, like you talked about, the economic impact can be really valuable, that you just need to work with people. They're not there for forever. They understand what kind of hindrance they are. Just talk to them. Mm-hmm. Every production ever has somebody on staff that is literally designed to do just that, accommodate needs, make sure that they're doing okay, working with people about parking or anything else, because it's temporary, and if you work together, everybody's going to benefit from it.
Exactly.
So if you're having issues, just talk to them, and try to approach them with kindness, because it's a lot easier and more fun to help somebody who's nice to you than it is when the first reaction you have to something is negative.
That old saying about drawing people to honey rather than so,
definitely.
Yes, and also as the city is the film permitting oversight, they are sure that when these permits get approved, these types of situations should be taken care of. Businesses, merchants are notified of any kind of impediments that would be happening to their businesses. So we just want everybody to recognize that this is important for Sanford filming in our city, and it wouldn't be approved if it wasn't met through all of the criteria that we have, which is helpful as well. And so along that line, so does the Film Sanford Committee have a website where people can find out more information?
Yep, so pretty easy, filmsanford.com, or you can follow us on Facebook at Film Sanford. And so if you're interested in saying, hey, my home looks really cool, or I would love to see my house in this series, let us know. We'll come in, we'll take some photos. We only list the contact information for the Film Commission, so it's not public information. It's only through requests through the Film Commission, and they would be happy to include that. And like a lot of the reasons were attractive to filmmakers is because we have, real history. Our Main Street especially is, beautiful historic buildings. We have brick. We don't have digital billboards. We don't have a lot of, things they have to take out and post. And we also don't have palm trees. That's we have them on some of the side streets, but not on Main Street. That's a very, you don't realize how much landscape it triggers where you're located. You see cactus, you think Arizona. You see palm trees, you think Florida or California. So landscaping is a big part of how they may decide on a location too. Yeah. But they are always looking for different things. And so if you feel like, hey, this would be kind of cool, or I want to make some extra income when I'm in my house anyway, let us know and we'd be happy to include it. The more things that we have available and the more versatility that we offer, the more attractive we become for a film destination.
And Sanford has that up north look, our downtown.
Sure.
So film scouts like to come and film here in in the winter time when they can't up north. So that's convenient as well. Well, that's great information. Thank you, Christina. What about some events, switching topics here, switching gears, some events that are going on in the city of Sanford that you can share with the listeners?
Yeah. Please. And so like I was talking about earlier, when we're always just like hanging out in groups and getting stuff done, that's how Sanford is all the time about everything. So we are a very tight-knit community that, hangs out together. What is our we work, play, live in Sanford. So I would almost gather that there's probably 40 individuals in town that are probably, at least one of them is behind every single thing you see in Sanford. But
like you.
Yeah. But we have upcoming on, I'm so bad at dates. I think it's March 23rd with Pints and Paws, which is, I think, maybe 9th annual.
I think it's the 8th.
Yeah, somewhere around there. But it's for the benefit of Pet Rescue by Judy. So a lot of the money that they raise goes back to another local nonprofit agency that helps with animal rescue. And it's dedicated to dogs and beer. So what better thing to do than to stroll around a beautiful historic downtown area with your pup drinking a beer? That's the whole point. Yeah. And it is amazing. You can buy tickets online ahead of time or tickets at the door. And it is so worth it. Like you could not drink every single beer they offered in that one day. Like it's so huge, and it really is a great event.
Yeah, it is.
And then we've also got the St. Patrick's Day
Patty
pool. It's too many P's. And that's actually the day before St. Patrick's Day on the 16th. And there's lots of vendors and food and fun. And Hollerbach's isn't able to participate because we're busy, but we are sponsoring a team of strong individuals to pull the truck in our honor. They did not win last year. They actually got beaten up pretty bad. But they have been practicing, and we got them shirts, so maybe that'll change it and turn it around. But see, we've got, also for me, I've got Springfest coming up. So Hollerbach's do Oktoberfest in spring, and that's April 6th and 7th on a Saturday and Sunday this year. And we've got Grammy-nominated accordionist Alex Meixner coming out. He will also be having a special performance by Jan Levon, who was featured in Polka Kings, the biopic starring Jack Black that's still streaming on Netflix. So we've got lots of weird entertainment going out there, and lots of great beers and food. Patrick's bringing out potato pancakes again, so we've got some new grills to accommodate that, because that was a struggle on Oktoberfest. Potato pancakes were very popular, but it was good.
And what about this weekend, right?
And this weekend is a big deal. We got Tim Raines, who just got inducted into the Hall of Fame last year, I believe.
2017.
And he's a Sanford native, and he went to school here, so we really wanted to bring him home and honor him. So there's going to be an opening free event at the Sanford Memorial Stadium at 10 a.m. And then there is a private event. Tickets are still available, but not that many, for a Sanford meet and greet at the Sanford Museum. And so that's, I think, only limited to 50 people. So it's a very exclusive, fun experience, and we'll be adding some Tim Raines memorabilia to the displays there at the Sanford Museum.
That's at 6 o'clock, and all the proceeds go to the Sanford Museum, by the way. And Christina, you are a board member.
Yep.
Sanford
so
Museum.
I love the Sanford Museum. I talked about them earlier. They are just like the most adorable people ever. Like Brigitte and Alicia, like they have so much knowledge and passion for what they do, and it's infectious. Like, I don't even care if you like history. If you go in there, you're going to like history by the time that you leave. And Sanford was founded in 1866, I believe. 1877. I knew it was like two numbers. And so we have a lot of interesting history, too, about how our town was founded. And that museum, a lot of it came from Henry Sanford's family.
Yeah.
So there's a huge display of his library, some of the history, items from his home. And he was also... I guess the delegation for Belgium, I forget what word they use now.
Brigitte was actually on a session before this, so folks
nice.
can really...
Oh, good. Yeah, so you can learn all about Henry
Listen
Sanford.
to that.
But like that library is really cool because like he lived in Belgium, which is really close to France, and he had a really great collection of books. And turns out there's some books in that museum that are nowhere else because they had they were viewed as evil and burned, and they didn't even know that Henry Sanford had maintained copies in his library here in Sanford. So that's pretty nifty stuff. Yeah. But I love the museum, and keep an eye on us and all the stuff we've got going on because I got plans.
All right. Looking forward to that.
Yeah.
And then, not to add another item to Christina's list, but the Women's Club. I know that's a close function of your
So Women's Club is also located here in Sanford on Oak Street, and it is another historic building from the late 1800s, and it became the Women's Club in 1913. So we are celebrating our 106th anniversary this coming April, and Brigitte, who was on another podcast, in her spare time, besides working at the museum, is also a historic costumer, and so her organization will be doing a fashion show and a lecture about what women would have worn and some of their customs in 1913 during the inception of the Women's Club, and a little bit more about Women's Club history and its involvement in Sanford.
That's so interesting. And how can people find out more about
so they can go to womensclubofsanford.com, and they can also follow us on Facebook, and there's lots of events in there. It's a free event to attend. We are encouraging hats and gloves, and I'm so bad at dates, but it's the last Sunday in April. I think it's the 28th. So it's an afternoon event, but visit our website, visit our Facebook. It's a lot of fun, and I'm really proud of all the improvements we've done maintaining that building too.
That's wonderful. Well, there's a lot going on. All right, Christina, is there anything else that you'd like to add?
Well, I would
during this segment, because we'll have you on again, I'm sure.
Yeah, and like I know I have like a lot of different stuff going on, and I barely even talk about Hollerbach sometimes because I feel weird talking about myself, or my businesses. And also, we've been around. This August will be 18 or 19 years. So, it's like everybody knows about the Hollerbachs, and I'll let somebody else tell you about it. But besides SpringFest, we also have the expansion coming up. And so we've purchased the whole building, which extends all the way into Magnolia Square, where that clock tower is from my girl, just, throwback from earlier. But that beautiful building, which I believe was the People's Bank at some point, we're restoring some of that facade, fixing the awnings for the outside. We're going to be doing some public art installations. But on the interior, another giant bar with a waiting area and a fireplace with an elevator, an upstairs beer garden, office spaces, banquet rooms. It's going to be epic. And I'm so excited. And you can also follow that with hollerbachs.com/hollerblock. And I have an interactive timeline, so you can find out more about it. But I'm mostly thrilled that the building is going to be beautiful, because it's such a pivotal
it is a
focal point
yes.
in Magnolia Square, and the awnings look terrible right now. So I apologize, but I'm working on it. They're going to be fixed.
Yes, and your business is a landmark in this
you.
community, and we really appreciate that. Well, that's wonderful.
Awesome.
That is really wonderful, and we look forward to all of this great events and everything that's going on in the city of Sanford. Christina, thank you so much for being on Sanford Says. You're the first community member on this show, and we are so happy that you could be here with us, and our listeners are probably so excited about all of this information that you've shared. Well, thank you again. That's Christina Hollerbach-Simmons. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And there you have it, another episode of Sanford Says. Lisa Holder, Communications Officer. You could follow us and listen to this podcast on the city's website, sanfordfl.gov, our social media, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, and we are also on SoundCloud, soon to be on Spotify, iHeartRadio, iTunes Connect, and Alexa. Thanks so much. Have a great day. Until next time, see you later.